Hey everyone! Today, we're going to tackle one of the most powerful skills you can have in business, turning that giant mountain of raw data into a crystal clear, super useful dashboard. We're going to go from total spreadsheet chaos to strategic clarity.
Does this feel familiar? I bet it does. You've got sales figures, profit numbers, customer locations. Data is literally everywhere. But when you need a simple answer to a big question, it feels impossible to find. Look, this is a super common problem, and today we are going to solve it. So we're going to build that bridge together. I'm going to walk you through step by step how to create a professional-grade sales dashboard in Power BI. And by the end of this, you'll see exactly how to turn all those confusing numbers into a story that helps you make way smarter decisions.
You know, just like any big building project, you've got to start with a solid foundation. For us, that means getting our data ready. Think of our dataset as the raw materials, the lumber, and the concrete. It has to be clean and organized before we can start building anything meaningful with it.
So our blueprint for today is the classic Superstore dataset. It's fantastic for learning because it's got everything we need. We've got columns for sales, profit, how many items were sold, where they were sold, what kind of products they were, and of course, when the order happened. These are really the core pillars of our entire analysis.
Getting our data ready is actually a really straightforward four-step process. First, we just import it. Then, the important part, we clean it up by getting rid of what are called null values. Just think of these as empty cells or gaps in our data. Because if you leave those gaps in there, it's going to break your calculations or totally skew your results later on. So getting rid of them is absolutely crucial. Next, we make sure our dates are formatted correctly so we can analyze trends over time. And finally, we can add some new calculated columns if we need to. Simple, clean, and totally essential. Okay, with our foundation laid, it's time to create the real building blocks of our dashboard, the key performance indicators, or KPIs. These are the vital signs of your business, the specific, measurable numbers that tell us how things are going at a single glance. Now, don't let the technical term here scare you. To create these KPIs in a tool like Power BI, we just use some simple formulas written in a language called DAX. Honestly, it's a lot like writing formulas in Excel, and for the core metrics we need, it's incredibly straightforward. Our first, and you could argue most fundamental KPI is total sales. This is the big one, right? The top line number, the total revenue coming into the business. Before we can analyze anything else like profitability or efficiency, we just have to know the raw size of our sales. And the DOCS formula is as simple as it gets, just sum of the sales column. But sales are only half the story, right? A business can have massive sales and still totally fail if it isn't profitable. That's why we also have to know our total profit, the money that's actually left over after all the costs. It's calculated just as easily, the sum of the profit column. Tracking this right alongside sales is absolutely critical.
Okay, so how do we connect those two? To really understand the relationship between our sales and our profit, we use profit margin. Think of this as an efficiency score. It tells us what percentage of our sales revenue is actual profit. We just divide our total profit by our total sales, and boom, we can see how much of each dollar in sales we actually get to keep. All right, we've prepped our data, we've defined our metrics. Now for the really fun part, turning those numbers into a visual story. This is where the magic happens. This is where the data stops being just a list on a spreadsheet and starts actually talking to us.
So let's start with a very common business question, one that any sales manager would ask. Where are we making the most money? Which of our sales regions are the top performers? And bam! This brilliantly shows the power of visualization. Instead of you having to scan a table of numbers, a simple bar chart instantly gives you the answer. You can see, just at a glance, which bars are the tallest, ranking our regions from best to worst. It's clear, it's fast, and it's undeniable. Okay, let's ask another one. We know where our sales are coming from, but what are people buying? Which of our product categories are driving the most revenue for us? For this kind of question, a donut chart is perfect. It shows us the whole pie of our sales and exactly how it's sliced up between different categories like technology, office supplies, and furniture. This immediately tells us where the real bulk of our revenue is coming from. And we don't have to stop there. We could use a line chart to track our sales over time and spot seasonal trends, like a weird dip every February or a huge spike in December. Or we could throw the data on a map to get a geographic view of our sales hotspots. The possibilities for telling your story are really endless. So here's the thing. A good report gives you a static picture, but a great dashboard turns that picture into a dynamic, interactive tool that you can actually explore. This is where we level up from just viewing data to actually interrogating it. This is what really empowers the user. With tools like slicers, which are basically just interactive on-screen buttons, you can filter the entire dashboard to see data for just the West region, for example. You can click on one chart, and it instantly filters all the others. This transforms anyone from being a passive viewer into an active analyst, totally free to ask and answer their own questions. We have now reached the most important part of our journey. A dashboard isn't just about showing what happened. Its true purpose is to help us understand the so what, to uncover the insights that lead to smart actions. Just look at this comparison. The finding, the what, is that sales dip every February. Okay, that's interesting, but the insight, the so what, is that we should plan a marketing promotion for February to counteract that trend. See the difference? That's an actionable business strategy, and we got it directly from the dashboard. Here's another one, just to really nail this down. The finding is the West region is our most profitable. The insight, we should investigate why, and maybe double down on what's working there. Maybe that means more marketing spend, or maybe we optimize our supply chain to support that growth. That's going from data straight to a decision. And this really captures the whole point of what we've built today. The goal was never just to make some pretty charts. The goal was to build a tool that tells a coherent story, a story that guides us toward better, more informed business decisions. The truth is, your business data already contains these stories of challenges and opportunities. By building a dashboard, you're just creating the tool you need to finally hear them clearly. So the only question left is, are you ready to listen?